So, 600 or thereabouts years ago, the world almost came to an end. This was during an event known as the eclipse. An unfathomable and horrifying eldritch creature rose up and blotted out the sun with its tentacled body, bringing with it an army of heralds and horrors to wipe the land of life. What creatures lived in Yaorun at the time were twisted and made into monsters, and the people who survived the event all now live in one city, Hearth. The people of Yaorun managed to beat back the eclipse, sending it back to its dark dominion using the sun and their gods to outshine the darkness. The world's back to normal, though the monsters that were twisted by the eclipse remain and are as dangerous as ever. The people do not leave their walled city, save for a few brave or foolish folk who hunt and forage as best as they can. Though the people have managed to bring some semblance of culture back to their life, they are yet to retake the rest of their world. We go now to a small room in Hearth. Solanum sits in a soft chair, eyes closed in the mid-afternoon warmth. You dream of woods, great old oaks, butterflies lazily flapping about, a gentle river babbling away. And then you hear it, that sound again. Cold dread fills your stomach as you look up, and above you, where the sun would be, an unknowable, incomprehensibly massive creature looms, blacking out everything and turning your vision green as the world goes dark around you. As you relive the first day of the eclipse, you watch as friends and loved ones die, slain by those monstrous heralds. You watch as plants wither and creatures turn twisted and feral. You watch as the world darkens. You see elven warriors performing a sun dance to bring gaps in the eclipse, fighting back and bringing beams of sunlight to fall upon the heralds, burning and disintegrating them into ash. The elves' arms are raised high above their heads, their fingers clasped as they dance like ballerinas, drawing apart the clouds and helping the sun to come forth once again. Your vision pulls you forward into a broken world, darkness slowly seeping in cracks. The eclipse is returning. You see your family slaughtered. You see the city crumble and fall. You know the eclipse will return with its heralds and its monsters and its darkness, tainting and tearing until the world is dead for good. Solanum, you watch as a great glowing spire of light erupts from the earth, purging the darkness and bathing the broken world in glowing hope. You see a path leading north, a path of hope. Solanum, you see your last journey, a final chance for this world. You jump awake, gasping and crying out, staring around for a moment. What does Solanum look like?
So I haven't finished the overlay, but I looked for images. It's very hard to find a druid who is non-muscular and or has lost an arm. So I'm going with this one, but this was maybe him at his prime.
Back in the day.
So if you imagine, like maybe the hand that doesn't hold the staff is gone, or the arm is now gone, and like even an elderly elf, he's not going to be obese or withered too much, perhaps, but it still holds some, even at his advanced years, some aesthetic beauty. So his hair definitely would have gone white, if not, during the event, then with age.
Yeah.
And he's fit and lithe for his age, and dressed in various greens. Maybe there's the remains of plants that he's managed to keep alive with druidcraft, that adorn him, like moss or lichen or some little flowering plants or something that don't exist anymore, apart from like woven into bits of his armor. He probably wears slightly more clothes than that guy in the picture, admittedly, but he's not incapable. He's just broken.
Yeah.
Um,
So you're sitting, staring about after this very vivid, prophetic dream in your bedroom. And as you come to, a woman, Ezra, walks into your room. Jade, would you like to quickly describe Ezra for us?
So Ezra is rather youthful looking. She has auburn hair, much like the picture. She's got a sword on her back and a long sword sheathed at her side, and her armor is well cared for. And she does have a cloak about her shoulders.
Very nice. So you would have heard the sounds of Solanum, your great grandfather, great grandfather, some distant
ancestor.
ancestral relationship, yeah. Moaning, speaking, gasping in his sleep. Something was wrong. And so you came into his room just to find him waking.
Are you all right?
Just to set the scene, is this in the middle of the night? Is it dark? Is it morning?
I imagine it was an afternoon nap type situation.
Right. Okay.
That is your choice.
So light kind of breaching in around maybe some kind of blinds or something, covering the window in the dark room that he's in. I saw it again. This time, it was different. There was darkness, yes. And there was death. But there was also light. I think I saw salvation. And he kind of like, he sat up and like reaches out for you.
She'll kind of like sit on the edge of the bed and kind of like help you prop yourself up. You saw what again?
The end. Oh, the end is... I knew it. It writhed, and the world writhed with it.
That
So
was a
many...
long time ago.
It is, but not for me. I see it every day. That is still the world that I live in. Those people that I knew. Your family. My family. Our clan. And he kind of like looks, I think, away from you, like there's maybe like a small memorial or shrine, things like I imagine like a tablet, maybe like written with some names that he could remember back maybe when he could remember them. I'm not sure how many names he has forgotten. And it's like wreathed in little flowers all the way along the arch. There's like an arch of flowers above it. The world still remembers. I still remember. But
of course, I didn't mean any offense by that.
No, don't worry, child. I didn't take any. When you've seen the sun gone, words have, or errant words have little they can do. He like grasps onto your hand or your shoulder, but and there's like a hopefulness. I saw something new. Light again, not just fleeting from those who tried to fight it, but conquering. I think we have a chance to reclaim the world again, to push back the dark.
It sounds like a pleasant dream.
He kind of like looks for you for the first time, and there's like a furrow, like a little bit, and he kind of like there's a. I imagine his eyes are slightly, they're elvish and they're clear still, but like there's a slight animal-esque nature to them. They're a little bit more piercing, or at least you haven't seen them. They're usually more friendly, but they like pierce you a little. And he goes, "I don't dream. I see truths, be it past, present, or future. It exists. The light to banish the darkness, it exists."
And I imagine she kind of shifts uncomfortably at your gaze. You're right. What's to be done?
You see him kind of like close his eyes slightly and turn slightly away from you, and maybe like a hand to his temple, and he tries to recall with clarity the visions given to him, or at least that he believes given to him. A path from this place we've called home for too long. North, I think. Into the wastes and wilderness. A light from the past will be the beacon of the future.
So we journey north?
And he straightens with resolve. We? He asks you with a slight mischievous kind of smile on his face.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't let you go alone.
He kind of he's now slides to like a sitting position next to you and like taps you on the leg, like on the knee. It'll be good to have some company. It's been a while since I walked amongst the wilds. Have you been?
No,
And he's like putting stuff together.
not in a long time. And not very far.
Then you shall learn something. We all shall learn something.
I think
Right.
that's a good place to call it. Unless there's
Yeah.
anything else Edra would like to say.
Nope.
So, it's a day later. Ezra and Solanon have been preparing for their journey. And as they do, they find themselves in the center of the city. In one of Heart's many town squares, the Cirque d'Astra have assembled. A small group of circus folk and tumblers and dancers, and they're putting on a show. A fairly large crowd surrounds them, and Solano and Ezra find themselves stopping and joining that crowd for a little while, transfixed by the movements of the dancers. They tumble and move with speed and grace, putting on these storied performances and showing off feats of dexterity and strength. And they are accompanied by music, epic and melodic. Morgan, could you please describe to us the figure playing the music?
Certainly. You see what most of you would recognize, at least perchance, as a tiefling, though he looks a bit uglier than most. He's mottled gray skin, covered in tufts of fur here and there, scars, welts. He's got very nice looking silks that cover his body, but most of them are just sheer, just see-through, for he seems to revel in the thought of all these people that look at him. Beneath, he has a pair of silvery gold-like braces around each arm, and just what looks to be a basic loincloth of chains, a few bandoliers and belts of leather strapped across his chest, his legs. And he plays what looks to be just a bar with a solid string on it, just this steady, deep drumming, dum, dum sort of sound, in tune with the circus acts that go around and sort of playing it in step with their motions. This wide smile is on his face, which is again just as ugly as most people view tieflings. Thick, heavy, curling horns that wrap around his skull. And his hair today is done up in this silky blue colored mohawk that runs down his back of his skull and down his back to where his tail sprouts. Sometimes he has it braided and sometimes he lets it just flow in the wind. Today it seems to be slicked back with some sort of pig fat or something and quite spiky.
Awesome. And as the large group performance comes to an end, another dancer takes center stage. She moves like the others, swaying and twisting with the music, but there's something different about her. Corinne, would you describe Indra for us, please?
Yes, Indra Hadari is a tall air genasi. In her costume for this performance or whatever, she's wearing something very similar to like elven silks or whatever, but it leaves like most of her body is like still kind of exposed, as it's just kind of like wrapped in like tight sashes around her, so that you could see like, you know, she's well muscled and lithe, and in her skin are like these swirling markings that seem to light from within, and across her face is a domino mask that kind of comes down and around her face, but covers her ears, that which are already pointed, but kind of give her the essence of elven ears, so that they kind of like stick out a bit more. And as she's dancing, like more of like these like white sashes and silks kind of like flow around her, as like her hair kind of moves in like this unnatural breeze, as though like she's underwater, and like her hair is like following its own gravity. And these ribbons also dance with her in like the same sort of pattern wind that no one else can really see. Like the eyes in the mask are different than a normal genasi, in that instead of like having like the white sclera, it's completely like black, and like these like piercing blue irises kind of are like very visible in like the center.
Awesome. And she begins to dance and move, following the beat put forward by Lucius. Before her dance suddenly begins to change. Solana, you find yourself transfixed as her hands come up over her head and her fingers clasp, and she begins to spin and move in the exact dance that you saw the elves do 600 years ago to bring the sun back. Now, as you watch in awe, these visions of that elven sun dance flash through your mind, and you look up at the sky. It's a dreary, overcast day, but the clouds begin to thin and part ever so slightly. You're the only one who would notice it because you were looking for it, But you realize what this means. She is somehow linked to those elves from the past, those people. And you know immediately that you've not seen this by accident.
Just out of character question, I'm quite curious, and it just came into my mind. Tiefling and Genasi, were they around pre-calamity?
They were.
Or are they some... Okay. And again, kind of rare-ish numbers.
Yeah. So they are... So tieflings come from... or are widely considered to come from the spaces between the stars. So they are dark, but in a different way.
Okay.
But people don't like them as much for those reasons. But,
Sure.
they exist and they always have.
Okay. I was just curious
Of
if
course.
any of them were new races born of the event. So they're walking by, and Solanum stops, and Ezra might see him like looking around and looking up when everyone else is looking at the performance. That girl, she moves in a way I remember. And he's like the eyes are kind of narrowing, and he's obviously struggling with something, and I think it's the flashes coming through his mind. She dances like an elf, like a sunbringer.
Maybe she just knows the dances of old.
I've not seen them in so long.
Yeah, so you would also know that when the elves performed those dances, to be able to have them work, they had to be right in the thick of the battle, not fighting or defending themselves, but dancing. And so you know that every single one of those Sunbringers was killed.
Mm-hmm.
Sacrificed himself.
I don't know if those secrets still exist. At least not in mortal minds. She is plain touched. Something speaks to her. Something has spoken to her since before she was born. She may be a key to what we all need. She may be the key to the light. And then he's gonna take off and start trying to slip through the crowd. I was going to say push through the crowd, but he's not very good at that. So he's going to do his best, like old man coming through, clear away type thing. And even though there's a performance, he's just going straight for her.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I imagine sort of by the time you get there, it takes a little bit. Ezra's probably helping push people out the way maybe. And she's just kind of bowing off as you arrive. And you see that she kind of bows and people are kind of chucking coins and flowers and that kind of thing into buckets. And she walks back over to Lucius, and standing behind Lucius, arms crossed, you see a gigantic orc, extremely muscular and well-armed, though his description will come next session when we have Andrew with us.
Sure.
But yeah, you can approach as they're just sort of sitting. Imagine Indra's panting softly and kind of watching the crowd.
How did we do? She looks over Lucius into the hat that he's been had in front of where we played.
Well, not as well as we often do. A bit of coin, but I'm sure the ringmaster will take most of it.
Well, it was fun to dance today.
Beautiful as always, Indra. Beautiful as always.
Thank you, Luke. That is very nice of you.
He will look around the crowd. Will he notice the others pushing
Yeah,
their
so
way through it?
he would definitely see two elfkin walking like across the sort of square where they were dancing, clearly making a beeline for them.
It looks like we have fans, though, Indra. He will stand up and slowly make way. Says, now, old man. No need to arm yourself.
Yeah.
What business do you have? Coin, perchance.
So he like pulls up. Now he's out in public. You'll see him. He looks kind of like he does in his picture, but like as I said, one arm is missing, but that whole side is like covered in traveling cloaks and that kind of thing. Like there's multiple layers. So it's kind of like a shapeless, a formless kind of shape there because he's just wrapped up so well. And the one staff has gone like click clack click clack all the way up to you. How tall are you?
Me? I would be like short, like 5'1", 5'2".
Okay.
Indra is towering over him at 5'8".
Okay.
And Og is like 7 foot tall.
Sure. Solanum is probably around 6-ish. Maybe there's a little bit of a hunch, but he's like, tall and thin and light. He'll look to you. Sun from between the stars. That was, and daughter of the plains. That was quite the performance.
There's like a brief flicker in like her dark eyes as like she like lifts up the mask as though like she recognized something that you said, but she like takes off the mask and like tucks it underneath one arm. Like, Daughter of the Plains, that is a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
You haven't. It's at least obvious to these old eyes that you hold some magic within you, at least a connection from your birth.
I do have the connection, all right. My birth, maybe. From a certain point of view, perhaps.
From this point of view, at least. And you have those same like glowing tattoos and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The song, the dance, the performance. Do you know where it came from?
A little birdie told me. I helped Lucius with the music.
His eyebrow kind of raises a little birdie, and then turns to who you, Lucius.
Yeah.
A birdie. Between you both, someone told you of this dance?
Well, I needed a new performance to do on my own, and it is what I wanted to do. And Sus helped me.
She gives
It's not
me
part.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She gives me the sheet music. I learn it. I play it. Beyond that, I do not care.
You don't care for what you make?
No, I do not care if I want it to come. I make it better.
It is so much better. I only know the flute, Sus is much better at the music than me. But dancing, I do dancing better.
She thinks.
Mhm.
He'll do a quick little tap with his hooves.
Can you? Yeah. But together you both are more than the sum of yourselves.
We are part of the Cirque de Astra. We are a easy preview for the big show tonight in tent. You come, yes?
He like turns and sees. I presume the other performers are like doing something in the background.
Yeah, they're sort of doing some like encore stuff. A couple of them are just like going around the crowd with buckets and hats and that kind of stuff.
He'll turn to Ezra. Would you like to see one last show before we leave?
Do we have time?
The world has waited long enough, as have I. We can make one more night.
No, Ringmaster will be happy. We got 2 more tickets, she says to Sus.
You said there was a hat on the ground.
Yeah.
With a little bit of dexterity and alacrity, he like pulls out some gold like between his fingers, like he does one of those kind of twist of the hand kind of motions, and it appears for both of you. For what I've seen today, I've not seen in a long time. You make an old man remember his past. And he like takes first Lucius's hand. He will hold out his empty hand for you to put your hand in it, at least.
Yeah, I would.
And he puts the coin into your palm and then rolls the fingers over, and then he offers the same to you, Indra, though he doesn't know your name.
Yeah, and she'll lay her hand in his. Say, it is good to see you again.
And he's like puts the coin down in your palm and pauses for a second. Again.
Yes? And she looks a little confused and like kind of tilting her head to one side.
I have lived a long time, and I've met many people, and I've seen many more people go. I apologize if we knew one another.
That is okay. I'm sure you will remember.
He kind of like looks at you, eyebrow cocked, and like rolls your palm over his fingers, and then like withdraws, and you've like left him slightly stunned. And then, just because otherwise it'd be rude, he like looks up to the giant half orc between you two, and like sees the clan markings, I imagine.
Yeah.
And knows them, and just goes, "Bloodbear, keep them safe."
Ogie is very good at keeping us safe. That is why he is here.
Can't singlet shit though.
No. But he is very sweet.
Mm-hmm. Zeog just like shrug. He's uninterested, bored. And I think with that, the scene comes to an end. And so that night, in the grand tent, probably further towards the outskirts of the town, there's a little bit more space. There is a packed tent full of people, all watching for the performance. You see a very tall, mustachioed figure come out in a bright red coat, and he sort of calls to the crowd, and he says, "My good people, it is time for the best performance you will see in all your lives. Firstly, may I present Indra?" And he like holds out a hand, and Indra comes out dancing. What's this dance like?
Oh boy. It's like this the one that she performed in the city streets, but this one is a little bit less historically accurate, I guess, and more stylized, and involves like lots, because there's like more room to perform. There will be like, more space for her to, do more of like the tumbling and acrobatic parts of it. She's not completely she's more like more dexterous than it seems as she would be for as muscled as she is. Like, she's kind of got like that tall gymnast physique. And so it's like a bit more like that, a little bit more interpretive and things, something that's meant to like showcase like her like feats of flexibility and strength and acrobatic stuff, because that's what gets the people going, whoa,
and so the people are all definitely oohing and eyeing, like swaying to Lucius's music. But Solanum, you are in a world of your own. As you're staring at this dance again, even though it's not the same, you're still getting these flashes of that tower of light, the darkness being beaten back, and the horrors of the battles you saw at the eclipse almost 600 years ago. And it's like seeing an old thing that you haven't seen in a long time. There's that memory, but it's not the same. It's like revisiting somewhere that you grew up. It's recognizable, but feels different. And in this way, it affirms your beliefs about this woman.
Yes. So to Ezra, he will make himself heard. Hopefully not too loudly. She moves like those elves I talked of. The secrets of their dance, there is none of them left. Don't know how many people even witnessed it or that are still alive. But something old moves through her, and she said she knew of me.
I was going to ask about that, but I didn't want to pry.
It might just be my age, but caution is, well, feels a long time ago. We should pry, he says, like with a smile. Let's say, like mischievous smile. There was something about her.
And so, go.
Are you sure you're just not spitting?
I think I grew too old for that a long time ago. And he like looks at you, and I don't know how perceptive you are, but maybe he can see, I imagine, the difference between your elvish and your human features, and he can maybe see the faces of the people that he has loved several hundred years ago. maybe, or 150 years ago or something. And like there was only so many times you can have a family, that you can raise the ones you love, and well, and he kind of like trails off and looks away. Happy memories is all I have now. Happy and sad.
Of course.
But she is a memory made manifest. And I do not think it coincidence that I've seen my past twice in the same number of days.
Should at least try to figure out where she's learning these dances from.
Indeed. She seems to channel the music. I think that Lucius, there is something more that his music than he lets on. There is a power there. Maybe more than he knows.
I'll trust you on that one.
I've read a great many people, and I've seen a great many people and he has talent. When you're this old, you'll see people for what they are.
As you so often remind me.
And so, as the dancing and the tumbling and the feats of incredulity that make up this circus's performance come to an end, maybe an hour and a bit later, we see the crowds begin to disperse, kind of all flowing out, taking or out of their seats, heading back home, marveling over the performance, talking about different things they saw. And the cast retires backstage. What are Solanum and Ezra doing?
So is the show over, or is it just in between?
Over, I think.
Over.
Yeah.
He kind of like I imagine he sat as like lots of people are dispersing, and he hasn't like moved, and he's just like thoughtful. It was one thing to ask you, well, for you to offer to come, my dear, but I feel I need to somehow convince performers to eschew the life that they know and wander wastes so dangerous. It's not an easy task.
Well, tell him the truth of it.
I can do so. The truth isn't always so convincing. We can but hope. That they feel the pull of something greater. And he like stands, like searching for his stick beside him, and pushes himself up and starts to make his way.
Ezra will kind of stand and follow.
So imagine you sort of like the cast probably have like some kind of system of tents set up just behind the main tent, and you find Og, Lucius, and Indra all standing, maybe with a drink. It's up to them.
Actually, I was going to say, can I interject for just a moment, Rob?
Of course.
So as everybody is getting up and leaving this circus all over with and stuff, you'll see Lucius walk back out towards the ring, be like, you're not leaving yet, are you? There's plenty more of encore. And you'll see that he has these small pipes in his hand. They look quite rusted, old, very ancient looking. He begins to play this very slow, haunting sort of tune, basically to catch everybody's attention as it echoes through this tent, getting everybody to stop for just a moment and turn and watch. And behind him, you can hear what sounds almost like war drums, sort of. And his movements mimic those, kind of like what you would picture for a Native American type dance, as he's playing these pipes. And he'll go around the rings a few times. And then people will notice things moving, small rats and mice coming out of the rafters, underneath benches, tables, chairs, and all around as they coalesce, just pouring over the walls and down around him in this room. Again, he'll continue to dance this, nowhere near as graceful as Indra, of course, and it looks quite choppy, but it's mesmerizing to watch. He'll continue around the ring, all of these rats just following him around. Everybody's attention focused on this for a moment. And then he exits back out the back side of the tent, all these rats following along. So I have a Pipes of the Sewers, which can basically conjure rats. He'll do this at the end of each show as he's trained all these little rats to basically just steal whatever coins and goods they can find, lay it out, and to follow him on out, and just a few extra coin for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Why don't you roll me a D100?
A 69.
Nice.
That is how much gold your rats are able to steal from the unsuspecting patrons of your performance.
Does one try on us?
I imagine so.
Yeah, you probably would see the rats around, yeah.
He would look to Ezreal. I told you, he knows. He knows just how talented he is. Can I try and make like a dex check or something to just like snatch a rat?
Sure.
Do you want me to roll, or
Yeah.
does it happen?
Make a check.
9. If it's acrobatics, it's 12. If it's animal handling, it's a 15.
I'd say yeah, animal handling. Like
Cool.
kind of imagine
one.
under animal handling is like anticipating where the rat is going to run to be able to
Sure.
snatch it.
Um,
You can snatch
To
one.
your purse, obviously.
yes. Maybe I'm
It
wise
gets
to this
caught
game.
in all of those extra cloaks that you've got over on your left side, and it's trying to find your coin purse but can't.
What those layers? He's an old man. He pulls the rat out, and then just gonna cast Speak with Animals,
Sure.
and just be like, I imagine he casts it, and there is just like the slightest taking on of the features of the creature, like his teeth, maybe front teeth, maybe elongate a little bit, or like some hair like grows, like
Yeah.
whiskers or something. I don't know. And he just goes, "Smart ploy, little one. Now, what does your master have in store?"
And it just sort of like looks up at you, eyes wide. And it says, we just get the coins.
He I don't know, takes like a copper
Mm-hmm.
and offers it to the rat, like to its hands.
Yeah, and
Little
it's just
grabby
like
hands.
making little like grabby hands at it.
Yes. Now, will you take an old man to your master?
It just like begins trying to like scurry out of your grip and will sit on your hand and kind of direct you to where you see Lucius and the others gathered.
He'll smile at Ezra. It seems they earn a coin in more ways than one.
It would seem so. Vile creatures.
Survivors. But I see your point. Any kind of like I don't know what your perception is like, but to himself, quietly, we're all vile sometimes. And he was going to follow the rat.
Yeah, and so you sort of kind of go through the back entrance of the tent, and you find the circus folk gathered. What would everyone be doing? Or what would Indra and Lucius be doing during this? I imagine Lucius is probably playing his pipes.
Yes, following up so I can count my rats into my coin and be like, Papaya is missing. Where is that little rat? She always gets sidetracked. She'll be here.
It's because you named her after something sweet. She always stops for something sweet before she comes back. Indra like calls from like inside the little tent because she's like changing into, out of her performer's costume and into her regular clothes.
Regular clothes.
What'd you say, Morgan? I'm sorry.
Perhaps I should have named her Lemon, but she's pleasant enough. And he'll look around. Imagine probably seeing the other two as they come. It seems you have visitors. Indra, your friends are back. Your fan club.
Oh, but look, they found papaya. I told you that they would be finding something sweet. And she like grins as she comes back out, like wrapping like a red scarf around her neck.
Perhaps she's helping him find his arm. And he'll sort of nudge you.
Hello. It's good to see you again.
Are you going, Jade?
Hmm?
No, I thought that sounded like you were. Okay. Yes, and you. We found a little friend of yours.
She always gets sidetracked. I hope she was no inconvenience.
Not at all. And he like turns to Papaya now and just speaks a few words in red, like run along, little one. And then like, lets her climb down.
And she just like scurries along, tripping over the coin every so often, bouncing along. Happy wee rat.
It seems you have many employees of this troop to pay. The rats made a good haul.
They did well tonight. Would have been a bit better if you offered her more than a copper, though. Just saying.
Well, I did not know your rats had such expensive taste. I did offer you more for your talents.
But that'd be fine with me. A couple platinum pieces is always good. Buys a fine dinner. I'm a man of fine needs.
And lofty aspirations. Not many can afford platinum.
Well, I can always try.
That you can.
What kind of work do you do?
I've done many things in my time, but precious little now. Ezra, though, she is the pride of her family, clan. She has achieved much.
Thank you. Mostly I just watch out for him.
You sell yourself short.
Yes, you wear the armor of one of the orders around here, yes? That is not something that you do just for keeping an old man company, yes?
And not usually, no. I've worn it for a while now. Earned it.
Then perhaps he is right and you sell yourself short.
He's always saying things like that.
And then he must be very wise.
He
Indeed.
just gives you a nod, yeah. Could we speak to you alone? And he kind of like motions to your little group rather than the other performers. I have something inspirational to discuss.
Like Indra kind of like looks at Lucius and kind of shrugs a bit.
Lucius, look at Hog. Nah, he can come with us. He's a good friend.
I know I've known the Blood Bears a long time, and I trust them with my life, let alone my words. And he I imagine, gives him like a little tap on the chest with his staff, like on one massive pectoral or something.
Yeah. And Og just sort of like takes it as has like a nod with you of like appreciating your sort of kind words, but knowing them to be true.
Let me just gather my coins and I'll be ready. You quickly stoop down, start dumping the coins into his pouch. Don't hurry, Indra. I shall cut it out later.
Indra kind of smirks because, yeah, some of that will get shared with everybody else, but most of it Lucius will keep for himself.
Excellent haul. Perhaps even 12 coin tonight. I can't believe it.
Oh, that's so many.
Very well. And so you're able to step into a tent off to one side, out of the way of prying ears.
So I sit down. There is a little bit of a performance there, I guess, but not intentional.
It's like
as he-
Agra and Dark Crystal, which is.
as he lowers himself down on his stick and tries to keep his dignity as he sits down. You must forgive me. I too many years on this. On Yarun. Time is calling. And he kind of like looks to Ezra for some kind of reassurance.
She'll kind of nod.
Okay. Would you like to hear a story of a time long past, but one that never left?
You know, I know a story relevant to everything, but you can humor me. Perhaps I don't know this one.
You may have heard of it, but you might not know the details that I know.
Lucius will look actually very interested in what you have to say. So he'll sort of take a seat over to the side, crouch down, watching you intently with these dark, sort of stormy gray colored eyes.
Mm-hmm. And Indra?
Indra is just like sitting next to Lucius. Like we're in a tent, so she's it's probably like one of those. There's like a table and then like a stool, and so she's probably sitting up on the table with like her feet on the stool, and is just kind of like leaning forward, like highly interested.
So about 600 years ago, the sun fell, and darkness rose, and the world has never been the same since. And then, I don't know how long you want me to weave a tale for, because, we're not doing
I was
cheap
enjoying
things.
it.
Okay.
No, we can definitely hand
Alright.
wave.
Basically, he'll give you like the intro thing that Rob said, but like, and he will use the phrase that he used before because that's what stuck in his mind. Like it rised and the world rised with it. But he'll describe the eldritch, tentacly, is shadowy beings of esoteric nature spilling into the world, and death, destruction. Places going dark, the sun being gone for like a month or more.
Roughly a month.
Roughly a month where there was no light. And he tries to give you some personal insight on what it is like to not see the sun. And he'll say, though the sun returned, not all, the land was different. I'm not sure if you've ever been beyond these walls, but it is not the land that I knew. But I see it every night. And they're not dreams. They're of what was. And until recently, it was only what was. But I saw something else. I saw what will become. I fear the darkness might return again. But there is an answer somewhere out there, and he kind of like waves his hand in a general northerly direction. There is a light. And though it is dim, there is a way to give it life. And I saw that way 600 years ago as the elves died and fought. They danced. And the light broke through the darkness and gave us hope. They danced the dance that you performed.
I think like as Solanum has been telling like this story, like the kind of jovial, kind of light-hearted expression on Indra's face kind of turns down slightly, kind of like someone drawing like a shade over a curtain, and she kind of like straightens up a bit, and there's like a different kind of heavy age to her eyes as you come to a kind of close there. And she just sits up and says, "Oh, Solanum, I am so sorry that you have been alone."
In like a different tone of voice to how she was before, like entirely.
Yes. And you have not introduced yourself.
Yes. I was going to say I could have, but if that's a plot point, which I think it is.
Is now.
It is now. So I think, like, you know, he got kind of relaxed into his storytelling mode and was weaving this tale, and it is of woe and of hope. And then you like say his name, and it kind of stuns him. His eyes, his like slightly animalistic eyes, like flare. A moment. Does he recognize the voice, or?
He definitely might, but he also very well could have forgotten it because he hasn't heard it for 600 years.
Sure. But it's not her voice. It's enough to be shocked at that.
Yes, absolutely.
He is kind of speechless at her.
And then it kind of flickers again and fades, and Indra's kind of beatific smile comes back, and she's just kind of like, "That is a very nice story. You need our help to bring back the light, yes?"
He looks at Lucius, and then to Ezra to see if he was the only one who heard that, or I know he's an old man and has seen many things in his dreams. If maybe he just dreamt it. Have they reacted?
I imagine that like Ezra had kind of like started to kind of like slouch a little bit. It's probably a story she's heard a few times, and then like the minute she like definitely is like back is like ramrod straight, kind of like that was a neat trick.
So yeah, see, would this have happened before? Would Lucius have seen this before?
That was my question.
Probably yes. Yes, I think that her being a warlock is not well known to everyone in the circus, but I think Lucius knows just because of his own trickster-like nature. I get that feeling that they have maybe cohorted a bit.
Imagine he would probably cock an eyebrow in her direction then again, but sort of, wave it off for the most part, thinking that it might be something that crops up now and then when that side of her takes interest, but that's her business, not mine, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Sol like leans in a sitting position, like leans further down towards you where you're sitting on the floor. I do. I need your movement, and I believe I need his music. And I think I might be able to make this place glorious again. But how do you know my name?
A little birdie told me.
We got many birds around here, in case you haven't noticed.
He looks around. Have they been sitting in like a parrot-filled tent this entire time?
You do not see one bird,
Okay.
little or otherwise.
He kind of leans back, more relaxed. You can live half a dozen lifetimes, and still the world surprises you.
So let me understand this. You old enough to be alive during the eclipse? Is that what you say? You saw this with your own eyes?
He looks at you with those same eyes. I did. I've never been the same since. I may be one of the last of my people, of my generation. There are not many who live as old and as long as I have.
I see. Now I understand why you're so preoccupied with time.
It is all I have to think about. When life and its distractions slip away, you are just left with the passing of the sun. And I imagine just out of context that there are probably days, because he is an elf, there are possibly days where he has literally sat in the same spot
Yeah.
for the entire day, if not several, as the sun just goes by and he just watches it as the short mayfly life of everyone else buzz around him.
Well then, what would you have us do? We make a fine living here. I made 12 gold for Indra tonight. I mean, why would we give up such comforts to go study time and wait for you to die or some such thing?
I cannot promise you comfort, but I said I could promise you inspiration.
What about fame?
There are few that travel beyond these walls. Fewer still that come back. If we leave, achieve something great, and return, the people will know about it. And they will know that you were a part of it. There will be no more need to rob them when their backs are turned. They will happily give you those meals and more.
So, Rob, would our troop travel beyond the walls very often, or primarily just in the city?
No.
Okay.
You've probably, your average Joe has never been beyond the walls and has never even thought about going beyond the walls. Yeah, your troop's never been.
Do we know what's out there, or just rumors?
Yeah, so, what's out there? I mean, you can go up on the walls and see it. It is, fairly, it's European terrain. There's, definitely some, broken bits, ravines, that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's fairly normal. Though you would know there's lots of monsters and kind of dangerous creatures and phenomena out there. As for environmental hazards, though, it's not unsafe.
Don't worry, sis. Me and Augie can take care of you.
Yes, I do not worry. I trust you. Besides, I'm going to be famous.
So
What
smart.
already famous. The best musician that the Cirque Astra has.
Yes.
They will flounder without us. They will make them appreciate them more, and then they will pay us more when we return, yes? Perhaps you be ringmaster of new circus.
Now there's a thought, Indra. That's a thought. Imagine all the little birdies that we could have then.
So many buddies.
I think Sona exchanges a look with Ezra. He's kind of like shrugs, happily not knowing something as of yet.
And I think, yeah, the group is now formed. The goal is clear. A day or so passes while you make preparations and give the necessary excuses to your employers before you leave the safe walls of Hearth behind. A gentle rain falls from grey clouds, and you know that the path ahead will be long.
I would also mention, I know Andrew isn't here, but he would probably say something to Og. I know he doesn't need that much convincing, but something along the lines of blood bears were born beyond the beyond the walls. They're born to be beyond the walls.
He
Will
will
you
nod.
walk with us?
He'll nod and say, "I go where Lucius goes."
Good.
And just give him a smack on the rump.
Doesn't flinch.
But he smiles.
And so, you guys begin traveling north, following the vision of Solanum. You pass a long, deep forest to the west, backed by snowy mountains. Ahead of you, to the north, are more forests and mountains, though these are darker, and you know they hide horrors. As well as this, there are cracked hills and mountains, shards of earth sticking up in all directions like daggers thrust from beneath the ground, natural remnants of the climactic eclipse. A few hours into your journey, you come across a large statue. It's two hands, each maybe 20 feet tall. The fingers pointing to the sky as though begging the stars for aid, and they're embedded in the ground up to in the earth up to their wrists, and one of them has sort of fallen slightly to an angle. In between the two wrists on the floor, there's a square stone receptacle that holds a few gold coins and a dagger. And it's just sort of off the main path north.
Do you know what it is for?
You can make me a history or investigation check to learn things. Anyone can do either.
It's a +1 or a -1.
Oh,
3.
I got an 11. I'm not good at history or investigation, unfortunately.
Okay.
So my history's 14. But
Maybe you remember my stories better than I
Yeah.
do.
I was about to suggest that exact thing. What did Lucius roll?
14 as well.
For which?
History.
History.
What was the other one?
Investigation.
Probably the same thing either way.
So the history check reveals, you remember this statue was once a great colossus, a woman to whom pilgrims would travel from all over Yalrune. Between the hands, it held a great pyre supported by a metal frame that was tended constantly. And you know that people do still occasionally make a pilgrimage to the hands, though it is maybe once every 50 years or so someone gets up the courage to go. As for the investigation, see there's grooves in the hands to hold up said apparatus. And you do also notice that there's writing along one of the fingers. And it says, if light ever dies If ever the sun goes dark, we will be there.
Can you repeat that?
If ever light dies, if ever the sun goes dark, we will be there.
And what language is that in?
It is in what we are calling common, but is the sort of standard language of Yalom.
Okay.
This would definitely be a human construct from back in the day.
Okay.
A sort of statue not of a god, but of a worshipper to the gods of the stars, and a way to sort of focus your prayers and make a donation to the gods. Tribute.
I know a story about this. He'll look at the others. I know a man, a young lad, perhaps 18, 19, quite handsome. Had a bushy blonde beard, curly hair that flowed down to his shoulders. He said he was going to come here and make an offering, put a few coins in the bucket, he said. Make a wish. He never returned home.
Maybe he wished to be away from here.
Perhaps. Maybe he died. I do not know.
I like to think that he wished to be somewhat happy, and that is where he is now.
Always the optimist, Inter. Always the optimist.
And so
I think so. I think Sol, even though if he doesn't remember right at this moment, has been here before because he has left the wall. So I think he even sits like on a spot on a rock that he has sat on before without kind of knowing. And he just kind of like takes it in while like clutching the top of the staff. And then he'll put a coin in the receptacle. And he'll say, I think he'll repeat in basically every language he knows. Perhaps that was the tradition in Common, Elvish, Sylvan, Druidic. He will say, recite some sort of mantra about the great oak. Saying may your boughs protect me, may your roots feed me, may the leaves give way to fruit and sustenance, and I will see you safe again. Well, I will see you safe is the thing, and then there will be a pause, and he says again, and like I imagine all three of you would know the constellation as the Ghost Oak, but he refers to it as the Great Oak.
absolutely. And so maybe you spend some time, catch your breath, take a moment to consider the weight of your journey and the somewhat apt metaphor of this once great colossus now fallen. Before continuing on, what's everyone doing as they walk, as they travel? Start with Ezra.
I imagine she's just kind of like trying to like keep an eye out for anything that might be coming their way, and at the same time kind of asking different questions about like what's that, kind of different things like that.
Yeah. It's definitely strange if you haven't left the city before, like the way the air is different out here, the way that you can look straight ahead and not see any people, and sort of like turn your head and see no buildings. It's a very visceral, very strange experience for those of you who haven't left.
And I think like Indra is just sort of like walking as though they're just strolling through the center of the city, like not really doing much other than just swinging her arms and enjoying herself, while everyone else has like weapons. She's still armless, no daggers or swords or bolts or anything like that. She's just kind of like walking as though she has like, not a care in the world. And yeah, I think after a while, like she'll grow bored and like pull out her flute and start playing it, like walking next to Aloysius.
Lucius would, for the most part, just take in the surroundings. He has a small little pad of paper that he seems to write down notes on. Anybody look will see sometimes it seems to be music notes or words or small little stories, just any kind of snippet things he might be able to make something out of. Beyond that, he takes out this bar. It's about 3 foot long. You've seen him before. It's just one single string that's on there. He seems to be slowly tuning it over and over as if he's just mindlessly trying to keep himself busy. Although it's still the same dull drum sort of sound.
I think, like, Sol is, making his way. It is, probably harder work for him than most. But he looks to be enjoying himself more than maybe many of the days that he's spent inside the city, as we might see some little new lease of life growing within him as he like looks around and smells the air like lungfuls of air and or investigates plants.
Yeah, this would be the
leaves.
closest you've been to like trees outside of the city in a long time.
Yeah. Maybe there's a few memories like flickering because he's been outside quite a few times over his life, but I imagine the memories are equally as strong as he maybe walks.
Absolutely.
Treads the same path.
As you continue on, the day the sun passes overhead, turns to afternoon, and around about mid-afternoon, you come to a sort of fairly thick, almost wall of fog and mist, and you can kind of see beyond it. There's like a long, dark lake that spreads out ahead of you into the horizon, kind of crossing your path. The fog is so thick across it, though, that you're unable to see the other side, but you've got to get across or around it. It's huge and largely forgotten by the people of Hearth, though most of you will have heard the name Fogbank Lake before, and maybe know of its reputation. Not the safest place.
Yes, I've heard a story about this. Would you like to hear it? Yes, good. I will tell you anyway. I knew a lad. Had a blonde, bushy beard and long curly hair. Quite handsome, perhaps 18 or 19. He told me he was going to come here and flip a few coins into the lake. I laughed at him. He was such a silly lad. He never returned. I think he died.
That is how your other story went.
Well, perhaps I got them confused. I'll have to check on that. It has a very original name, though. The Fogbank Lake.
Fogbank Lake. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
That is a bit awkward. Whoever named this was clearly very uninspired.
They are very clipped sounds. They do not roll. Fogbank Lake.
So as you walk around Fogbank Lake,
I was just going to say that I knew it as a different name, Hjalmalen. I don't think it is. Recognize that name in a long time. It didn't used to be like this. And he kind of,
Hilmarn.
kind of just waggles his staff at it in the fog, and I imagine there's wisps of it on it. Like it used to be clear, crisp, refreshing.
Hilmarn. See, that flows better. I like that one.
Yes, me too, me too.
You could make songs about Hilmarn, like
Have you ever wondered about Hearth? It did not always have that name either. That was Heithella. Before the fall. Elves and men used to live there too then. It was a welcoming place, but strong, which is why it stood through all of this. And he kind of gets, like, he started, like, optimistic and, like, awed, and then he kind of dips at the end, at, like, a melancholy. If you want the names, I can put them up.
So, as you move around the lake, a strange smell kind of carries across the fog-filled air. Sort of like seafood, I suppose. That sort of beach smell, but something different about it. Maybe rotten or unpleasant, to say the least. As you continue on, the smell begins to grow in strength, and you see that kind of looming out of the fog are these kind of like outcroppings of rock. There's like a small kind of cliff edge next to you, only a few feet high. Would you all like to roll me perception checks, please?
Oh, God. This is how we die.
oh,
And they all died.
I didn't roll badly this time. Perception. That is a 17.
I got non-natural 20.
Get a 12.
A dirty 20.
Mm-hmm.
So, what did Ezra get? Sorry.
15.
Okay. So, Indra and Sol would kind of blink and see that one of these outcroppings that they're looking at is moving and sort of turns towards them as though whatever it is not of the earth, but actually some kind of creature that has caught their scent.
Indra is going to kind of drop into like a ready stance and kind of like throw back a hand as though she's going to protect Lucius and Soul as like the wind kind of picks up around like her right arm and like swirls around her hand, and out of thin air a blade appears.
I will take note of that, but then I also say very sort of calmly, sternly, they come for us. And then I want to use, because I never get to use it, Mask of the Wild, Wood Elf, hide in foliage, heavy rain, falling snow, mist, or nature. And I rolled a 21 to hide stealth.
Absolutely.
So I imagine there is like I go, like, they come for us, and then like the mist shimmers, and I'm just gone. Oh, or you can't see me at least.
Yeah. Absolutely. And so the rest of you begin to hear this sort of like kind of creaking, skittering noise. And you see like the shadows kind of looming as this thing begins to move towards you. And you hear the sound of like many legs kind of moving towards you. And there's sort of a passing of the wind, and the mist clears for a moment, and you see this gigantic crustacean-like creature. Its carapace appears to be made of steel. It's about the size of a combined horse and cart, and its two claws. It has these two gigantic, like lobster claws, that act as both the front legs and the arms, pulling it forward with these huge pincers that drive into the ground. And as it kind of comes into view, it pulls the pincers back against its body, sort of flattening them against its armored head and creating like just this flat metallic square surface of what looks to be iron. If you had to guess, about 10 feet in on each edge. It kind of moves around you.
Has it clearly seen us already?
Yeah, it has. And it sort of scuttles, strafing side to side, never turning its back on you, and keeping this kind of big armored section to the front, and slowly moving back against the cliff so that no one can get behind it. And we will roll initiative here.
Oh my god.
And for these fights, we are going to assume Og is involved, but he is not going to be mechanically involved.
He's just wrestling an entire lobster creature to himself.
He is flavorfully in the fight, but
Flavorfully?
he ain't doing damage.
9.
I actually rolled 21 again for initiative.
12 for me.
11 for me.
Okay. And what was it for? 21 for
So, yes.
Saul is up first.
So, from the mists, and this will break his stealth, I imagine, he appears, I think, slightly behind, but next to Ezra, with like an arm, his only arm, outstretched towards the creature, and says, "Be witnessed by us, so we may put you to rest." And I will cast fairy fire on the creature, so maybe we have a chance of killing it.
Dexterity save.
Seeing it. I think so. DC
Yes.
14.
That is a 8.
Yay! The big chunky boy did not pass. So
Yay!
everybody has advantage to hit it with
Absolutely.
attacks that take it to hits. And it can't hide in the mists.
Yeah. So its shape is kind of illuminated through the mist, and like the fog around it is kind of illuminating as well. Create this sort of hazy
Green coloured. I would choose green.
Of course.
So it sheds dim light in 10 foot.
And it
lets advantage to hit it.
It lets out this like low kind of growling noise, like, and sort of like a sound of discomfort as it keeps its back to you all, or keeps its face to you all.
Does this thing look natural, or is this old lobster creature that has been warped in some way?
It looks natural but twisted.
Okay.
You think this is kind of your perfect example of the eclipse making things strange.
Sure.
You can make me a quick nature check, actually, Saul, because you might have come into contact with one of these before.
I can do. And
It's not an action or anything.
That is 17 plus 3 for
yeah.
non-natural 20.
So you would know this as a Horiodax. And you know that these creatures are said to have unnatural or natural, but very pronounced, shall we say, healing properties
Okay, can
when utilized.
I speak that?
You may.
Say that loud enough for everyone to hear. These beasts were once much calmer, but since twisted, they can bring themselves back to health before your eyes. We must kill it quick.
Absolutely. And it is now Lucius's turn.
Seeing Indra step in front of him, he'll take a few quick steps back, these hard hooves that he has clicking on the cobblestones and rock that's around him. He'll look at Ahag for a moment, and you can see he sort of reaches for his sword at his side, but taking a moment to consider this, he instead takes this bar that he plays this deep, droning, bass-like music to, and grabs a hold of that and sort of snaps it like you would snap a stick on your knee. And you can see that it folds back, almost shaped like a bow, and he pulls a small little bolt out. I got a 21 short bow, so...
With advantage?
Oh, with advantage. Maybe I'll get a 20. Yeah, either way.
21?
Yep.
Is a miss. You fire this bolt and it just tink bounces off the metallic carapace of this creature. Its body like a shield facing you, and seemingly no damage done. Is that everything you'd like to do on your turn?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, Ezra.
I'll move up to the creature, just take a strike with my sword, and the highest I got was a 19.
That is also a miss, I'm afraid. And so your blade clangs against the front of it, though you see, looks like behind it, kind of partially obscured by the fog, is a sort of glowing bluish light. You can't quite make out what it is, but it's relatively strong. Probably about the same as the fairy fire, though different. Indra.
Indra, how large is this creature's? Is there like part of it that she can like run up so that she doesn't have to like be attacking the armored front of it? I know she can't get behind the cliffs.
Yeah, so you could try and climb the face of it, though that would be running directly between its two gigantic pincers. So it may not go well for you, but yeah, its face and pincer like shield that comes together is 10 feet by 10 feet.
Okay. So would I take an attack of opportunity if I tried to like leap up past the armored section?
Yeah, this thing is considered to have reach.
Okay. I think going to actually, since she's back a little bit, I'm going to use Indra is going to use her bonus action to hex the creature, and so
Okay.
like her eyes darken, and it kind of like whatever type of eye it has or would have kind of like matches like the same black Celera that she has.
Yeah.
And then she's going to like take like a run at the creature, and for her action she's going to cast levitate on herself to like jump up.
Ooh, nice.
To start like Superman leaping up over
Okay.
using like her.
So as you get over it, you see that this thing looks essentially like a lobster, except the pincers and the head are so gigantic, and then it's got this sort of much smaller back, and then it ends in this kind of almost like wasp-like thorax that is glowing this pulsing blue. But you're sort of above it at this point.
Yeah, can I?
How high would you be going?
Whatever you think that I would have to leap in order to get over it with my levitation.
Its reach is 10 feet.
Okay.
So yeah, probably, and its pincers start about 5-10 feet above the ground. So yeah.
Okay. Can I
Pretty
drop? Can I drop the spell so that I can land on its back?
Yeah.
Yeah. That will be my go then.
Okay.
Oh, and hexing strength checks.
Hexing strength
Oh.
checks. Oh, okay. So, the Horridax reaches out with one pincer to try and crush Ezra. So it has disadvantage on this, is it? Or is it just check?
No, it's just
Okay.
checks. Just checks. So if it has to grapple her.
Yeah, that's a 19 to hit.
That's a miss.
And so it's going to try with the other pincer then.
Yay.
For a 21 to hit.
That is a hit.
Nice. Okay.
Um,
So you take 10 points of bludgeoning damage as this pincer just grabs you around the chest. Could you make me a grapple check, please? DC 15.
remember that the strength has been depreciated, even though she's. Oh,
Okay, so for this, then you can have advantage if it's hexed, I suppose.
yay!
That is an athletics or strength? Just strength.
So grapples, so athletics or acrobatics, your choice.
That is a 24.
24. So you're able to like throw off the pincer. It can't quite get a good enough grip on you. And this thing is going to feeling injured on its back. It's going to begin like thrashing from side to side and kind of scuttling around, trying to get away, but keeping its back to the rest of the group as best it can. You see Og kind of running up and trying to strike at the front, but not able to get purchase. Sol.
Okay. Sol is pretty wise. I presume he has ascertained that the metally front bit is tough. So he's going to attempt with his 35 feet movement.
Mhm.
Can he attempt to flank it while it is?
Yeah, you can. If you take you can with 30 feet of movement. I imagine you're probably 15 feet away from it, so you can definitely get around it to some extent, close enough for spells and whatnot.
I'm staying at a distance. I am going to attempt to frostbite it.
Okay.
With my little druid
In the
power.
side, I assume, rather than the
Side
face.
/ rear, yes, behind the thing, the protective layer. So, oh god, I should have looked. It's a con save. I'm sure this thing
Con
will
save.
easily beat this.
Oh. How's a D12 flying away? That is only a 15.
Oh, that is one more than you needed. It passes and nothing takes effect. So he like reaches out with his one hand again, and there are like ice crystals that form, I think, down each finger, like towards the palm, where they like coalesce and then form a similar thing on the creature, and it shakes off the ice crystals.
Absolutely. Aloysius.
Well, seeing that this thing took the arrow just fine, I'll just scurry back a few more feet, sort of trying just to stay out of the range of it right away. For the time being, same thing, just another. I still have advantage. It's still on. Okay. 12, 16. So, yeah, just 16 total. He'll drop another bolt, seeing that it's not really working too well, but hoping nonetheless to at least perhaps distract it enough or get its attention enough to help the others.
Yeah. Yeah, the arrow just bounces off harmlessly again.
That's
Ezra.
it.
I think you should try shoot it in the side.
Yes.
Am I able to kind of like scurry around to towards that like light that I saw?
You will, but moving that way will give it an attack of opportunity.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. That's a rubbish attack. 15.
That's a miss.
All right. So yeah, it I imagine tries to smash you down, using its claw like a hammer, but you tuck and roll, and are able to get around. And you see the glowing blue thorax of it, kind of just sitting there, and it begins immediately trying to turn away from you, but not before you can make some attacks.
That is a 24 to hit.
A 24 does hit.
All right.
Ooh.
Let's drop a smite in there just for.
Ooh.
21 points of damage.
21 points of damage. This creature takes 42 points of damage as you strike it in the thorax. As you do, this blue kind of viscous substance spurts out, and some of it lands on your on your arms and kind of across your face. You heal 1 point of damage as this liquid begins soothing and healing your wounds, and it lets out this shriek, this and tries to scuttle away. Is that your turn?
Yes.
Indra.
Indra is going to let me make sure. Is Booming Blade concentration?
Booming Blade. No. I think it's.
I don't think so.
It's just next time you hit within a minute or something.
Let
I
me
will
make
have a look.
sure, because I do not want to lose my hex.
Booming Blade.
It
Not
is
concentration. Duration
Alright.
1 round.
So Indra is sitting on the creature's back, and she is going to stab down with it as her sword is wreathed in wind and
I
dark
assume she's going for the
shadow.
blue bit as well.
Can't you see it from the back?
Yeah, she can move along it to get
Okay.
there. It will take all
Then-
your movement though, because it's very slow going.
Yes, then totally makes sense. That will be a 26 to hit.
That does hit.
And 16 points of damage.
32.
The hex and that. And if it voluntarily moves, it will take an additional d8 of thunder damage,
Okay.
as it is wreathed in buffeting winds that is sending the mist all crazy.
Yeah. So it will begin to move. So how much damage does it take?
It is going to take 4 points of thunder damage.
4 points of thunder. That will only be 4 because it's not specific damage to the thorax. And it kind of shuddering and falling. It uses its pincers to begin pulling itself towards the lake, bounding into the water. It can't fully submerge itself, but it is
Can I
going to get
hold
as
on
low
to
as
it?
it can. You can.
Okay.
But it is going to try and reach back and get you. These
Okay.
attacks are with disadvantage. That is going to be a 15 to hit on the first one.
That misses.
And that's going to be better. That's a 18 to hit on the second
That will hit.
one. Okay, I will need a grapple check from you as well, please. Though you only take 7 points of damage. Bludgeoning.
I have advantage because it is still hexed.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh. What kind of check? Grapple.
Acrobatics or athletics.
Athletics. 12.
You fail. This thing grabs you in its pincers and rips you around to the front.
Oh, that's cocked. Hold on. Ooh, I fail my concentration check, so it's no longer hexed now.
Wonderful. So it is now holding you in its grip, crushing you about the middle very tightly. So
Indra screams. She goes, Ouch!
Solid is your go.
Okay. Still not keeping fairy fire. Oh. And it's about to plunge into the lake?
It is so it's like wading in at this point. It's about to submerge itself.
Oh, crap.
That's okay for Indra. Don't worry about her. She'll be fine.
I'm not sure how much he knows that. He might have. But I don't know.
Be wisdom or intelligence for him to know that an air genasi doesn't need to breathe.
Has he met many of a kind before? Does he know these tricks?
Not many, but a couple definitely.
That they... Still, you know, a new person that he dragged outside and she's about to be dragged into a lake. Like, it's still annoying. He doesn't have an awful lot to offer. He is going to... so you said that it seemed to struggle to hit people around the back of it, at least, or it has one of its claws busy. He is going to move over with surprising agility, and I'm going to attempt to attack it in the tail with his, elven carved staff.
Absolutely.
Or his staff, possibly elven carved. I haven't decided. So we said I could have a lighter staff that still worked on decks.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, as a scimitar. So that is 21 to hit, and then
21 hits.
Excellent. 5 on the dice plus 3 mod for 8 damage.
8 damage or 16.
As he moves in to strike the tail, saying that it was effective.
Absolutely. And you see more of this kind of viscous blue liquid begin pouring out, and it shrieks again, trying to claw its way into the water. Lucius.
Is that facing away from me now, since it's going back into the water?
It is.
This is it. See Lucius hesitates for a moment, looking like he's gonna again grab at his sword. Instead, I'm gonna bound forward, I guess 30 feet, or as close as I can get to it. Once again, just knocking another arrow, trying to aim for this blue pulsing thorax sort of area.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14.
14 hits.
6 points.
6 points. And again, it's doubled as this just kind of orb at the back of it just like erupts with this bluish green goo that seems to have some kind of healing property. Anything else on your turn, sir?
I imagine I would probably know that she doesn't need to breathe.
Yeah.
So if the others are around about to be like, do not worry, she can breathe under the water, but we still need to get her out of there. That's it.
Ezra.
I know you haven't played Bards in a while, but you could inspire her so she has an easier time of getting out of the claws
Oh, cool.
as a bonus action.
Okay, yeah, totally. If I can do that, what do I got? Is it D6? Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. I did not know that.
Not a
It's all good,
problem.
man.
It's one of the main things that Bards do now is they give people little bonus dice.
How
know
does
you're
how
fucking
does
ancient.
Zeus inspire Indra?
I got a 4 times. Okay, cool.
Aw,
You hear this sort of deep thumb as he lets go of this arrow. Like, dance, Azra. Dance until you can get free.
Nice.
So, yeah, apparently D6. Cool. Thank you, Dan.
sweet.
Not a problem.
I told you, they're not rules lawyers, they're rules legal advisors. Very
Legal aid.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that, Dan.
No problem.
Ezra.
I'm gonna go up and make a strike at the spot in the thorax. That is a 19 and a natural 20 with advantage, right?
Oh,
Is-
Yeah,
damn.
still have advantage. Fair fires on.
Both are gonna hit.
Well,
Nice.
it's just one. That was both the rolls.
Oh, okay,
Oh, I see.
that's true.
Damn.
Smite.
Still.
Smite.
Yeah, that's gonna be quadruple damage total.
Uh,
Some serious maths going on.
yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
42 points of damage.
Is that doubled? Yeah.
No, yeah, that's the doubled.
So 84.
Mhm.
God damn. Oh, hey, look at that. So you see, yeah. What? In fact, you tell me. What does that look like? As she just inflicts this insane.
So
Insane
she
hit.
just kind of like runs up and kind of takes a slash with the long sword, and as she kind of like makes that contact, she lets the light of like nature kind of like flow through her, and then you see this like burst of like almost like green kind of radiant holy energy kind of like flow from her hands into the blade and then just burst out of the
Absolutely.
wound.
That was really pretty. She's not in the water yet.
I know. Just imagine you starting that and then getting dunked.
That was so.
Indra, it is your turn.
Oh man, this thing's still going.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I no longer have Hex, so I can put that D6 aside. Yeah, she is going to cast Booming Blades again and strike down with it with advantage.
Yeah.
Oof, that is a 22
That misses.
because it's on the claw now.
Correct.
It's on the front. Yeah,
You're at the front. That is a miss.
I forgot. I role playing her low intelligence right now. Y'all, that's what that was. Because instead of escaping, she tried for a hit she knew wouldn't work.
All
Let's
right.
go.
And so on the Horridax's turn, you are still grappled. So it is going to use its crush action.
Oof.
Ugh.
Natural 18. 25 hit.
Yeah.
Okay, you take. Oh, it could be worse. You take 15 bludgeoning damage as this thing just grinds its claws.
Oh boy.
There is like the sound of like ribs creaking.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
probably like a few that
There's a
crack
couple
and
broken.
break.
Yeah. Yeah, the strength in this thing's claws is immense. It's also going to reach behind it and try and grab at Ezra, but with disadvantage because you're behind it. Okay, that's a 9.
That's a miss.
So it kind of lets out this backhanded thrash and is going to crawl another 30 feet into the water. Ezra will get an opportunity attack.
I know as well.
Anyone else in melee. I was doing a mental calculation of who's in melee. Yeah, anyone in melee.
That's a 20 to hit.
20 hits.
Oh damn!
And
I
not a
got a crit.
natural 20. Oh, you got a crit?
I got a crit on the opportunity attack with my little weapon. Choo! That's 10 damage on the crit.
10 damage on the crit.
Choo!
Turns into 20 because it's behind.
It does.
It does.
I got 7.
7. Okay. That is also doubled, but this thing is still going.
Oh, Jesus.
Blue liquid is leaking out of it and like floating on top of the water as it's like raggedly crawling.
Don't suppose
into
any
the
of
water.
it heals Indra in
No, because it's behind her, and this thing is like 10 feet long.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying.
Though you are now submerged.
Yeah, like as she's about to go under the water, she just goes.
Even though you don't need to.
I can hold my breath indefinitely. If I go unconscious, I will be drowning.
When you go unconscious, you will be drowning.
Yep.
Sol, it is back to you, my friend.
Oh boy. And this thing is 30 feet into a lake.
It is.
So we can kind of see it moving down there, but
Yeah. So it's still at the surface. Like it's the lake is huge, and it's a very like slow descent into the back. So it's
okay.
It's mostly done, but the thorax is still just like visible just beneath the water.
Okay. So still a sort of melee range without us getting too.
Yeah, you could definitely hit it. But it's not. If you're gonna take a big swing, it's maybe not going to be as effective as trying to stab because it is just under the water at this point.
He's definitely going to try stab. So he is, with his terrible strength and his many layers of clothing, going to wade into this lake, which you can decide if you want to make it even tougher for him. But
he does not have a current, so you're okay.
Okay. He wades in and then tries to put the stick down through the water. It's the slender stick probably faces a little resistance.
Agreed.
But apparently enough resistance because he only rolled a 10.
That does miss, I'm afraid.
Okay. He is struggling, I think.
I imagine it's less that you missed and more that you can't get the like down, jabbing someone with a staff isn't going to do that much.
I think it's mostly him wading in is far beyond his abilities. But
you're definitely panting, short of breath. Absolutely. Delicious.
You run forward to the edge of this fog bank lake, his hooves treading the water just a little bit. And he looks out across these small ripples at this thing, and he begins to rub his hands a little bit slower, a little bit faster, a little bit faster. You can see his hands warming up, getting this reddish sort of glow to him. I'm going to cast Heat Metal on the bolt that I have in its thorax.
Oh.
It'll go 12 points of damage to the 8 inches. I got 12.
That is a use I've never seen of that before.
And brilliant.
I thought you were just going to heat the thing because it seemed like metal, but that was a good idea.
The old gal's got some life in her yet.
What do we got? Constitution saving throw. Oh, that's for dry. I can't drop it. But, so yeah.
How much damage does it take?
12.
12 points of damage.
Is that doubled?
Yeah.
Okay.
24.
Okay.
This thing is still alive.
My goodness.
But it is beginning to lessen its grip on you, Indra. You can feel it is almost dead. Ezra, it is your turn.
Can I wade out into the water and get a hit on it?
You absolutely can.
Do I still have advantage?
You absolutely do.
Good, because that's another natural 20.
God damn.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna. Yeah.
Smite, smite, smite.
My last smite.
After this, we'll just, turn home and go back home. It's a dangerous place.
Maybe this is out of the gate. What the hell are we thinking?
Let's not go to Camelot. It's a silly place.
Exactly.
That's our one Monty Python reference we're allowed.
Good ref.
19 points of damage.
And with that, the 2 remaining hit points of the...
I might killed it with a stick.
Oh, you might have.
You could have. This Horidax just fails. Its top half just sinks, and the bottom half kind of floats up, so the thorax is sort of bobbing above the water. Indra comes up spluttering, or maybe not spluttering, but comes up a few moments later, released though, heavily bruised and pained around the middle. Broken bones aplenty, I'm sure.
I possibly using the thing as ballast at this point. Like, I'm going to stretch out my one arm and go, Cub Girl, I have a few secrets that might suit you better.
That did not go as well as I was hoping it would. She like struggles to like swim over to you.
And he struggles to get to you. I have noticed the regenerative properties of this blood that is,
Absolutely.
seeping out into the water around me. Yeah. I try and help her, guide her into this.
So if you guide her into it, she can have a D4 per round she's in it.
Okay.
Though that has a maximum. You can also try and harvest some of it to have as essentially a mini healing potion, if you'd like.
I mean, yes. There is a scene that is similar to a christening or something, possibly. And
She
also
is
I might
covered
try
in
and
blue
some
goo.
Okay,
diluted
so
blue goo
how long are
Yes.
you staying in there for?
till she feels better.
Yeah, until I feel better. I had broken ribs, dude, and I had 2 hit points. I am here until it is gone. And can he still harvest some
Well, that
even if
depends.
I stay?
A maximum number of uses, so we'll need to keep rolling D4s until you're healed as much as you want to heal.
Okay.
He can maybe harvest some number of the remaining
Okay.
ones.
I think at least 2 rounds.
Okay,
So let's see what. Are you rolling or am I?
you can roll.
Okay.
I'm just fiddling.
That's a 3 and a 3.
I might be like, Ezra, come here. Apply pressure here. And she's like pushing a rib into place or something.
It's like, that's smart.
Stop complaining.
That hurts very much. That is not very nice of you to say.
Well, you should be feeling better.
It's not my first rib I have broken, mind you, but it is the first time it was from a giant crab thing.
Hopefully the last.
And yeah, I guess she'll like swim out after like getting 2 rounds because Ezra's being mean.
Okay, so if you would like to harvest any,
Yes.
make me a survival.
Yay. Havoost. 18.
18. That is a good roll. So if 2 uses were used, then there are 18 uses remaining maximum.
Oh, wow.
So you can roll 2d6 plus 6 uses that you'll be able to get.
Okay. That is 2d6 plus 6. I rolled a 9, so 15 uses.
15 little d4 uses of this potion, of this blood.
Interesting.
And the rest is washed away to make the fish feel better.
Oh god, let's not fight the fish.
Yeah, I think Endora finally makes it to the bank and just kind of like lays down. Like, even though like her skin and her clothes are still like soaking wet, somehow her hair is already dry by the time she gets to the bank, and she just kind of like lays down there and like looks up at Lucius, and she goes, "That really hurt."
And he offers you nothing.
His cold silence is all I need.
You see him staring out longingly at the lake. What did you say? It hurts, yes. Don't be such a wimp.
Oh, I did not see anyone else jumping on the back of that thing.
Good job. Good job.
She doesn't get that you're being patronizing now, and she just beams.
Can I have the name of that? That's the creature. So it's not just healing crab juice. As I wrote it down.
Horiodax.
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 Indeed. Jade, when you did that 24 damage, it had taken 224 out of 250. So you put it to 248. I felt so bad.
Oh.
And its AC at the front was 30, just in case you're wondering.
Damn.
Should we just pick it up and carry it forward facing for the rest of the campaign?
Everybody grab a bit.
Yeah. Og, this is on you.
He's barbarian. He wouldn't have
Say that's like he would not totally take a shield made out of crab claw.
That's true.
I feel like Andrew should possibly get the chance to do that.
Andrew will get a retroactive opportunity to take crab pieces if he so wishes.
Crab pieces, crab.
All right.
Excellent. So I come out having harvested bits of flesh and blue blood and whatnot out of the wounds. As I'm obviously struggling to get out of this lake, I will commend Ezra on her battle prowess and the blessings she has received for being faithful.
Thank you. Here, let me help you.
As you are mostly carrying him at this point. Possibly he will be. I have come out here more than a dozen times, and I've seen people fare a lot worse against the creatures of the past.
Indra is still like laying out on the bank, and she says to no one, she's still like, and I was riding on its back, and nobody can say that I am doing well. It's toughen up, girl. Toughen up, girl. Get your act together, girl. She's talking to herself.
I know, but I hadn't got to you because I'm still in the lake.
No. I know. It's a thing. She's talking to herself.
That is, I feel for her, for everyone being so mean to her. But I will, basically just praise Ezra, saying that the gifts you have been given are remarkable. To dispatch something of this ilk so swiftly.
A few lucky strikes, but thank you all the same.
Something guides your blade. Again, you sell yourself short. And he pats her on the shoulder.
It's only the wisdom of the ancients.
He smiles at that. And when he gets to the bank, he will just see that Indra is doing okay. You're a brave girl to ride the back of a beast.
Oh, thank you. It looked like it was too hard to hit from the front.
And smart.
Oh, I'm just a very good listener.
You are good at cooperating with others. We've seen that on the stage and now on the battlefield. I'm glad you have survived. We may have lost at our first hurdle if you had sunk to the bottom.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I appreciate your kind words.
I think we have little distance to go from now. Hopefully I'll be able to see you right again. There is a few more kind words I have. These ones come with more than wisdom, but power of old. Is it near sort of resting time potentially?
Yeah, so this was kind of getting on towards evening. So, for a gentleman of advanced age such as yourself.
Yeah,
It must be 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock exactly. Matlock is on. I must watch it. Do I think, with naturey knowledge, that we might be safe on the banks of this lake now, or should we move further?
That would be a roll that one could make.
I would care to make the roll because a source of water and potential food is
Yeah.
hard to come by.
History or nature, up to you.
Nature. Nature. 11.
11. So you know that where a Horiodax lives, things generally like to steer clear.
Okay.
So you're probably, like, knowing this creature is here, probably not in too bad a spot. Though
Okay.
all manner of things could live in a lake. Who knows what may come by?
I mean, all manner of things could live anywhere here. I guess.
Absolutely.
So he will say, to have a source of water and potential food may not be guaranteed if we move on. And the Horiodex, they claim their territory rather firmly. We may not find any further danger here. Of course, anywhere might be full of terrors. Do we wish to camp here for the night?
Indra
think it's
nods eagerly.
One place is good as another. I'm fine with it.
Good. I think some of the fish in that lake may be good enough to eat. If some of you would see to fishing, I will make it tend to Indra.
I'll look over at Ezra. Would you like to fish with me?
Oh yes, it's good. Now's as good a time as any to learn how to fish.
You've never fished, me either. We will make a team together.
Oh, I don't know if there was any lakes in the city, but I love the idea of him going, "Oh yes, we should fish," and like you guys having no idea what that act actually involves.
So there are rivers in the city, and like you can fish them, and people do. Though that's not to say that either of you have ever fished. But
I do not fish, but I will for this time. Let me go find worms.
I'll go find a stick.
Excellent. I got musical wire. We will make us, what do they call them things? A fishing stick of sorts. Let's go,
Yeah,
let's go.
fishing a stick.
We got this, don't worry.
all right, let's
I
have
know a
a
story that relates to this.
Does it
Walk with
involve
Ezra.
a young man walking off into the water with?
You heard the story too. Well, we will not be like him. We will come back. Don't worry. We won't all die.
I don't have much coin.
Yeah, I'll go hunt for worms and sticks and hook up
Oh, yeah.
musical
Make me
twine.
make me a survival check.
Because I'm awesome at that. Let's see.
Ezra can as well.
Yes. Oh boy.
I think this is a worm, but I don't know. And he'll just hold up a slug. I got 3.
I got a 4, so I now have a little twig. I think this will work.
We got this. You throw the
Okay.
twig, I'll hold the slug, and let's see what we can catch.
Okay.
So you go fishing.
They don't put them together. There's no-
Yeah.
You go fishing. One of you can make another survival check to go fishing with disadvantage because of your shitty implements.
Oh,
Well, you know how to hit things better than me, so I will sing about the song of the mighty Ezra Fisher Lady, and you can
could inspire her to go fishing.
Yes, I shall inspire her with a D6 to go fishing.
Maybe I will tell you that story after all.
That's not bad. 16.
16. So, though the stick is small and not a great rod, it seems that the fish in this lake absolutely adore slugs. And you quickly feel a tug at the rod, and you pull it in with some effort, and you see this very nice fish. We would recognize it maybe as some kind of rainbow trout type thing. Very long, very fat, meaty, an old and long-lived fish, perfect for eating.
Don't know why I didn't do this before. This is quite easy.
Indeed, indeed. They would be impressed with our mighty heavy fish. Come, let's go. Share the feast. Hopefully somebody can cook it.
I can't cook.
So I think by the time they might have returned, I might have, set up some sort of fire pit, and maybe with Druidcraft grown some sort of, side salad. Find some sort of
That's
edible
so
bush.
good.
or
Yeah,
leaf
I
or
like it.
something, and grown that out.
Craft a side salad.
Yeah, why not? Got to eat well.
I love it.
So I imagine that, like he finds some sort of stubby little leaf that is struggling to grow, but it's something edible, and his hand hovers above it, and his hand kind of like twists and pulls away, and the leaf grows with it, and then he plucks it, and does that a few times, making sure to leave the plant,
So you've got
enough to live.
Slug trout and side salad for dinner.
Yeah. Also, he would have, helped tend to Indra's wounds, maybe with some sort of poultice or something. Would you like some healings? I have magical words that could be said and healings that could be given.
And magical goos that could be spread.
Indeed.
Uh,
I can give you some healings if you want some.
I only have 8 hit points, so if something comes in the night, that would be very bad. But
Cool. Let's do
I
it.
do not feel quite myself. If you have the ability, that would be nice.
I do. Though it is different to the words spoken by the men of God in the city, it is still of some effectiveness. And I'll give her a couple of healing words. So, but I imagine he does like poultices and herbs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then he says like words, and it's the words that make a difference, I guess. And they are top read dice, just
Thank
for
you.
D4s. So I've done it twice, and I rolled 3 both times, plus my modifier of 3. So 12 hit points total.
That put her back up to full.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. She was at 8 plus 12 is 24, yes?
No, it's 20.
20.
Near
8
enough.
yeah, there we go. Near enough full, yeah.
So yeah, he would have, I imagine you are badly bruised around the center. So he put poultices down and then says some words about the great oak and the stuff, and you see the bruising start to dissipate maybe, and maybe your breathing becomes a bit more regular, and
there is that ugly purple bruise as like her blue skin has just gone like, completely nasty from the bruising.
The gifts of the oak, they do wonders upon the flesh.
Have not heard words like that in quite some time.
I speak an old tongue. Have you ever heard of the words of Sylvan? I don't know if it's different in this setting, but that's what I'm going for.
No, go for it.
We used to, my kind, speak to the plants, the animals, trees, and those elements of nature in a tongue that they understood. And I can do the same for the body. It responds. I don't know many who speak it now or have such gifts.
I may have heard it from a birdie or two.
One day you will have to tell me which bird. I've spoken to a few.
Oh, she is very shy.
Birds often are skittish creatures that want to be free.
And Indra will nod, be like, yes, she does not like her cage.
He like cocks his head slightly.
She kind of matches your matches it, but there's like not really any.
You speak to a caged bird. Where
She
is the
nods.
cage? Where is the bird?
She is.
Shy. You said before.
Yes.
It can come with time, child. And he like pats your hand.
She kind of gives you like a big smile.
I'm sorry. Oh. I'm just imagining that Frodo meme. Just keep your secrets.
Yeah.
It's all that's in my head now.
That's this exact scene.
It is that exact scene. Yeah. He just smiles. Keep your secrets.
She just grins back at you. Because she was totally about to tell you the name, but then you told her to keep this.
Were you? It seemed like you were being a bit awkward, and he didn't want to pry too much.
No, she was trying to decide, and then she was about to, and you're like, "It's okay, you keep your secrets," and she's like, "Okay."
I feel it'll be better for the story arc if we don't reveal everything straight away.
Yeah. No, it's totally one of those things where like she's like opening her mouth to say something, and he goes, "You just keep your secrets, pat, pat, pat," and she just goes, "Okay," and looks away.
Now about that side salad.
It's like one of those things where like the audience just
All right.
goes, "Why?"
Yeah.
So, what is everyone doing this evening then? I imagine you're sort of camped under like under one of these kind of jutting out sections, stay out of the rain a little bit.
Mm-hmm. We're like, what, 6-8 hours from town or something? Or
Yeah, I'd say about 8.
Like a good day's journey out.
Mm-hmm.
We've made good progress. I'm happy to see there is still life, and not everything is twisted.
Do you know how far it is we need to go?
He looks to you. I don't. But that is often not the point of a journey.
Yeah, I imagine it's the sort of thing where you will know you're going the right way, and you will know you're going the right way, and you'll know when you get there. So you have no qualms about whether or not you can find the place. But yeah, you have no
idea. No. A journey is often discovered along the way. I know which way we go, and hopefully what we will find at the end of it. But and he kind of like thinks, it is like one of your dances.
You have the intro, she says, like getting up, and like her like torso is still bruised still, and she like spreads her arms in like kind of a preparatory thing. So you have your introduction, And then the music builds, and there is a swelling crescendo, and the music grows higher and higher, and the audience is pulled in, and everyone holds their breath as the dance goes on. And then it reaches that point where everyone just goes, and then it releases, and everything is different and wonderful.
I couldn't have put it better myself. It seems you know exactly what I mean. Everything will be wonderful. But first, we must play the audience.
And she like chuckles and takes a bow.
What are Ezra and Lucius doing?
Go ahead. You can go.
I imagine Ezra's just kind of like reclining by the fire and just kind of like watching and kind of taking in and listening to the area around and just kind of enjoying being out of the city and away from all the people.
Yeah, awesome. It's definitely like a kind of fresh air that you can only experience out here without the cloying nature of the city.
She's got her little fishing pole kind of like pushing the dirt around, kind of drawing absentmindedly, kind of drawing little symbols and stuff.
Oh, if I noticed, that would make his heart grow several sizes. Like the city girl that hates the people in the city is, relaxing in what he holds so dear. I think he would be very happy, but at a distance.
Absolutely. And Lucius?
I sit with my back against a tree, sort of looking out across the water, watching the others as they go through the motions of the evening, and kind of think to myself, trying to wonder what they're thinking about and stuff. And this mood seems a little bit dour, or everybody seems a little tired. So I'll pick up my recorder, play a soft little tooty sound. It says, I once heard of a small village out here on the outskirts. Perhaps all you've heard of it. I can't recall the name exactly. Pied. Something about Pied. But I heard that there was a band there who liked to dance. And he'll play a few more chords or whatever it's called on a recorder. It says, the children there, they were unthankful, scavenging, annoying little bastards, to put it politely. And the parents, they were tired of these children. They wished the children to be more polite, to wish them to be more like them, and to revere the what you call adults and such. And this man, he came into town, and they begged him to fix their children, to make them respect their elders, and to do their work, and to quit being little shits, quite politely. And you'll see, he played a song, and you see yourself play a few more notes on this recorder. And he'll get up and sort of prance around the small flame that he has. And they'll use minor illusion, and he creates a picture of what sort of looks like him above the flames out of the smoke. All these little children following behind him. He played a tune, like I do with my rats, and they followed him out to the woods, and then they died. And with that, he'll sit back down. Quite a humorous story. I always find it quite funny. They called him the Pied Piper, I believe.
God damn it, Morgan.
Have you ever... A lot of your stories tend to end one way. Do you ever begin them with life? With a birth?
I have seen it, but it was not quite a beautiful thing that people say. It's a bit overrated, I think. Tragedy, that is where the human emotions lie. There was an old bard. All of his plays were tragedies, or comedic. Some of them were comedic tragedies. It seems like everybody died. I take my inspiration from him.
Have you ever seen a person die? If you've seen a birth, have you seen the circle complete? And he's like, there's no like judgment. It's just question.
His eyes will actually narrow a little bit. Yes, but that was a long time ago. And I promise it was not by my hand.
He leans forward and touches your hand. Sometimes we all do vile things.
Yes. And he'll sort of move back, not
Mhm.
Aggressive or anything like that, but sort of lost in his own thoughts for a moment. But yeah, he'll definitely pull away.
Excellent. And so as the evening winds down, are we taking a watch?
Yes.
Indra will take a watch.
All right. Does everyone plan to take a watch?
Yeah, I'll take a watch.
Well, does everybody have to take a watch?
You need
for people.
8 hours sleep
Uh,
in total.
I suppose I could take a watch. I guess.
There is Og. If you wanted to sleep
There is
in.
Og and there's 5 people, and one of you only needs to sleep for 4 hours. So
It's been a long day, and these hooves are a bit sore. I think I got a stone stuck in between the grooves. You might have saw that there. And I didn't sleep very well last night. I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
but yeah,
I did catch a fish though. That fish was hard to work. Well, I helped Ezra catch a fish.
It was a good
was.
fish.
It
you have
was.
to chase down the slug.
That little slippery bastard. Should have seen him slip between the stones.
But if everyone takes a 2-hour watch and
Yeah.
a total sleep time of 10 hours, you can all have 8 hours sleep and a long rest.
All right.
Gradually.
Overnight, because I can be up more than the others, I probably would stay with Ezra for at least some of her watch and just. I imagine out here without light pollution, the constellations that everyone worships are much brighter.
Absolutely.
He would teach her about the stars in a way that he had not been able to such an extent previously. Maybe there's like constellations that are dimmer and harder to see, and he could teach her about some of the more esoteric.
Yeah, and maybe you see the ghost oak again, but without the light pollution, you can definitely see more of the nebula that makes up the leaves.
Yeah, yeah. He would describe the ghost oak that can be seen, and I think it's a little brighter out here. Like you said, you can see the nebula. That there is grandeur to that particular constellation that he reveres. But he'd speak about a few others. I'm sure he knows quite a few, and just try to teach her about the world.
All righty. So, who's taking first watch?
Shall I take the first two? And one of those, Ezra is there as well?
Yeah, sure.
Cool.
Okay. So, could I have perception check from each of you for your watches?
Okay.
Oh no.
My perception is 19.
Okay.
I got a 13.
Okay.
Do you want me to roll separately for both watches? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was first. The other one was 21. So.
Okay. Both watches pass without worry. Who's taking a third watch?
I would whenever they woke me up. I mean,
Yeah, whenever
Okay.
they choose.
yeah.
Then who is taking the next watch? Ezra. Or so.
So I probably took first watch, and then
Yeah.
would have
Gone to
Okay.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'll choose Indra.
Okay.
And I'll probably wake you up and then say like we lie under the constellation of such and such, like whatever's in its height. I'm not sure which one. Do you want to make one? Or
The Weaver.
make one up? The Weaver. I would say the Weaver is in ascendance, or is it a good sign?
The Weaver is a good sign. The Weaver is a sign of like productivity, renewal, and growth.
Okay.
Not necessarily natural, though.
Sure.
More of a philosophical. Type.
So I will say the Weaver is high above us. It signifies growth. I think we have all grown.
Indeed. That is good. You sleep well now?
Indeed, I shall.
She'll like get up and kind of stretch, doing the whole like elbow stretch thing. And there's like another pop as like one of like her ribs kind of snap back into place. But she's like, I am feeling good as new now. Thank you so very much for your words.
I'm glad they fell on ears that appreciated them. I don't have much cause to use the gifts that I have. Feeling a little younger out here, a little more myself. He kind of watches as you do the whole elbow stretch thing because he can't do that anymore. I will find my rest. A better one, I hope. And he kind of, does that whole like musing to himself, little kind of old man kind of hobble off almost towards a tree or something to sleep in the crook of.
And so, oh yeah.
I was
No.
just gonna say, like she'll kind of like watch him go with a somewhat serious expression before, like turning and like not nodding or shaking her head sadly before going to like settle down into a better position for her watch.
And can I have a perception check for said watch, please?
A 3.
Okay.
And she kind of sits there and she's talking to herself just a tiny bit, tiny little whispers.
Your watch passes without problem.
Oh, good.
Who do you wake next?
That would be Sus.
Okay.
Yeah,
Who's
bloody
this?
hell. Is it my time already?
Yes. You know, Og always likes the last watch.
We need to rewrite that contract at some point. It's getting old very fast.
I do not think you guys have a contract. I think he just shows up and he goes, going to protect you all. And you go, that is so great. And he goes, no one is going to make fun of you because if they do, I will punch them in the face. And your grins.
I love your acting of Agindra. It always makes me smile. It makes me no less grumpy, though.
Whenever you say that it makes you smile, she just kind of like grins from ear to ear as if that's like the best thing she's ever heard. And then she like goes to get in bed.
Very well, very well. Let's have this, you silly Foggerbank Lake with a crappy name. What are you going to send our way? I got a 17.
Okay. So, the first half of your watch passes with no issue, but the second half does not. You begin to hear this wet, slapping sound coming from a little ways along the bank, and you can
Put that away.
You peer down the bank, and you see some small shapes, maybe 3 feet tall, moving in the fog. And you kind of watch them for a moment. You see that they're these very weird, strange creatures You can't really make out any features about them, but just the way they walk and hold themselves is very weird. They're walking and like lifting their legs like up to their chests, like as they're walking very high, very silly walk. And they're sort of like making these weird garbled noises at each other. And you see that you can make out about 5 of them at this point, and they're all carrying spears. And
Far away.
about 60 feet away at this point. But as you watch them, I think we're going to end the first session there.